In the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, few names are bigger than Andre Galvao. He's a multi-time world champion, an ADCC Hall of Famer, and the leader of Atos, one of the most dominant competition teams in the history of the sport. His organization was a global empire, a name that meant elite talent and constant victory. But in just 1 week, that empire started to crumble. It began with rumors, a few quiet exits, and then it turned into an avalanche. The reason? Shocking sexual misconduct allegations from a teenage student, an athlete who grew up under his guidance. These accusations set off the collapse of his dynasty in a matter of days, as a flood of his top athletes and affiliated gyms left, sending shockwaves through the entire grappling community. Today, we're breaking down the explosive timeline of the accusations, documenting the mass exodus that brought a powerhouse to its knees, analyzing the responses from everyone involved, and looking at what the future might hold for one of the biggest names in the sport. This is a story about more than just one man. It's about power, trust, and a moment of reckoning that has forced the entire sport to take a hard look in the mirror. To really get the scale of this collapse, you have to understand who Andre Galvao is and what Atos represented. At 43, Galvao is a living legend of the sport, a fifth-degree black belt. His resume is almost second to none. He's a 6-time IBJJF world champion and a 6-time ADCC world champion, and he holds the record for the longest-reigning ADCC superfight champion ever. He won major titles at every single belt level, something very few have ever done. His 2022 superfight against his rival Gordon Ryan was one of the most hyped matches of the modern era. But Galvao's impact goes way beyond his own medals. In 2008, he co-founded Atos Jiu-Jitsu with Ramon Lemos. They chose the name Atos, the Portuguese word for acts, from the Bible, building a brand on Christian values. When Galvao moved the headquarters to San Diego in 2010, he wasn't just building a gym, he was building a juggernaut. Atos became the place to go for anyone who wanted to be a world champion. The training room in San Diego was a shark tank of killers, a place where iron sharpened iron. The team's success was undeniable, producing a crazy number of world-class athletes like the Mendes brothers, Keenan Cornelius, Lucas Hulk Barbosa, and Kenan Duarte. The women's team was especially dominant, something many credited to the leadership of Galvao's wife and fellow black belt, Angelica Galvao. The Atos flag was everywhere, with nearly 100 affiliate gyms across the globe. Being part of Atos meant you were part of a winning machine, led by a man seen not just as a coach, but as a father figure who built a dynasty from nothing. It's this image of strength, faith, and success that makes the events of February 2026 so shocking. The person at the center of this storm is Alexa Hurst, an 18-year-old purple belt and a European champion. Hurst wasn't just any student. She was an Atos lifer who had spent most of her childhood on the team's mats. In her own words, Andre Galvao was a man she once looked up to as a hero and a father figure. He was the professor who had promoted her to gray belt when she was just a kid. This long personal history makes her public statement all the more devastating. On February 1st, 2026, Alexa Hurst posted a detailed multi-slide statement on social media announcing she was leaving Atos and describing a pattern of alleged abuse. She outlined a 6-month period of escalating misconduct with specific and disturbing claims. She alleged that Galvao touched her inappropriately during training and made repeated, unwanted comments about her body. She described a pattern where Galvao would allegedly interrupt her training with other people to make her roll only with him. During these rolls, she alleged he made sexual moaning sounds in her ear while in dominant positions. In one of the most jarring details, she claimed that while their heads were close together, he licked her ear. Her statement also alleged an institutional cover-up. She claimed she went for help to Angelica Galvao, Andre's wife, a woman she saw as a mentor who had known her since she was a child. According to her concerns were dismissed. She alleges Angelica told her, if it's wrong, you have to at least act like it's right, and don't bite the hand that feeds you. For Hearst, that response made Angelica just as responsible for the situation. In her post, they made it clear this was a painful decision, stating, "I never wanted this. I have nothing to gain by making this public. I'm choosing to leave behind all my friends and my family." She ended with a chilling line, "This is my truth, and I know for a fact that I am not the only affected person of this." She also confirmed she had filed a report with local law enforcement, taking the allegations from social media into the legal system. Soon after Alexa Hersey's post went viral, Andre Galvao issued a public response on his social media. In a written statement, he flatly denied all the allegations, calling them false rumors. He said that he has always worked to create a safe, respectful, and transparent training environment. Galvao didn't address Hersey's specific claims one by one. Instead, he blamed the controversy on a personal vendetta from a single former member who, he claimed, left Atos after administrative and financial cuts and was now spreading lies out of resentment. His statement read, in part, "These claims are untrue and we are taking the proper legal steps to protect the integrity of Atos." He said he would not be fighting about it on social media and would handle it through legal channels, promising his supporters that soon everything will come to light. Galvao then disabled comments on his posts and has stayed silent publicly, letting his denial and the threat of legal action be his official position. As of now, no legal outcomes have been announced. The fallout wasn't slow, it was a tidal wave. While Alexa Hersey's statement was the explosion, the tremors were felt days, even weeks before. The story of Atos's collapse is a timeline of dominoes falling one after another incredibly fast. It started with whispers in late January 2026. Sharp-eyed fans of the sport noticed small, strange things. High-profile Atos athlete Andy Murasaki, a black belt under Galvao since he was a teen, was seen training at another gym. Another top competitor, Rose Miller, quietly took Atos out of her social media bio. They were small clues, but in the close-knit BJJ world, it was enough to start speculation. Then, between January 29th and 31st, the cracks started to show. Rose Miller officially canceled her membership. On the other side of the planet at Polaris 35, Atos competitor Adele Fornerino gave a post-match speech with a cryptic but strong message. She talked about a crisis in jiu-jitsu and warned about people in dominance taking advantage of the vulnerable. At the time, many weren't sure what she meant. Looking back, it felt like a warning of the storm to come. On February 1st, the storm hit. Alexa Hersey posted her statement. Andre Galvao quickly followed with his denial. The lines were drawn, and the story blew up on every BJJ news site and social media platform. What happened next was unprecedented. From February 2nd to February 4th, the Atos empire imploded. A few athletes leaving turned into a flood, as many of the team's most loyal and famous members publicly cut ties. The list of athletes who left reads like a who's who of modern jiu-jitsu. JT Torres, a longtime Atos black belt and head of the major affiliate Essential Jiu-Jitsu, announced he was out. He was joined by a wave of other stars, but it wasn't just individual competitors. The entire organization started to break apart. Affiliate gyms, the lifeblood of the global Atos brand, started de-affiliating in huge numbers. Atos Miami, Atos UK, Atos Atlanta, and gyms in Las Vegas and Reno all announced they were cutting ties. With JT Torres's Essential and Liera's logos gone, the Atos brand was basically wiped off the map in entire regions, like the state of Nevada, overnight. Sponsors also moved fast. King's Kimonos, a major gear company, announced it was suspending its relationship with Galvao. In less than a week, Andre Galvao went from being the head of a global empire to an isolated figure, abandoned by the champions he helped build and the affiliates who flew his flag. With the team in freefall and the community demanding answers, the pressure grew on the institutions connected to Andre Galvao. The reaction from Atos headquarters came on February 3, 2026. The organization announced it had decided to immediately and indefinitely separate Andre Galvao and Angelica Galvao from their position and all associated roles within the organization. The statement went on, "This decision was made in the best interest of our students, affiliates, and the broader Atos community." They also announced they were hiring a third party to investigate the allegations and confirmed the Galvaos would no longer be involved in any day-to-day duties. But this response was criticized by many in the community who felt it was too little, too late. People were quick to point out that even as Atos HQ promised to separate from Galvao, his face was still the profile picture on the organization's official social media. For many, that detail felt like a disconnect between the official statement and the reality, fueling the idea that it was a move made out of public pressure, not a real desire to protect students. The sport's biggest governing body, the IBJJF, also issued a statement. They condemned any form of abuse and pointed to their policies requiring background checks and safe sport certification for instructors. While they didn't mention Galvao by name, the federation said it was monitoring the situation to see if further action was needed, a standard, cautious response. In 1 week, we've watched a jiu-jitsu dynasty completely fall apart. A legendary champion stands accused, an empire built over a decade lies in ruins, and a community is left to grapple with tough questions about trust, power, and accountability. The story of Andre Galvao and Atos is a stark, painful reminder of how vulnerable the coach-athlete relationship can be and the devastating results when that trust is broken. What happens next, in court, in the investigations, and in the conversations about reform, will shape the future of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The only thing we know for sure is that the sport will never be the same. What are your thoughts on this situation and the larger issues it brings up? Let us know your respectful opinions in the comments, and if you want to stay updated on this story and other important news in BJJ, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching.